What's going on, people? Today I am getting into Rambo 3, and I got that coming up for you next. So, getting into Rambo 3 in 4K, I'm going to start off with the movie first, because that's where I usually start off with releases like this. And Rambo 3. Wow. This is the movie that feels the most dated to me just because of its politics. So with the Afghanistan setting and the war that was going on in Iraq at that particular point in time that Rambo 100% contributes in here, I feel like this movie takes a lot of time, unneeded time, going into the Afghanistan war and what their plight is, the Afghani rebels. And for that, I feel like this movie slugs through the majority of the first half of it. And that is my biggest knock against this movie. I feel like the first hour of this movie is a real slog. It's like watching National Geographic on Afghanistan and their belief system, the Afghani rebels. And but once the action starts kicking in with Rambo and going against the Russians and fighting to, get back Troutman, that is where this movie has a hell of a lot of fun. And I put that in parentheses just because it goes whole hog ridiculous at times. When you have a chopper and a tank and they have a face-off and the tank wins just because Rambo is inside of it, that is goddamn ridiculous. And that is a place where this movie goes. I will say that this movie is ridiculous in ways that aren't as fun for me as Rambo First Blood 2 goes. And, yeah, this movie is just some fun. There is still good action in it. Stallone, I actually feel like is still pretty good here, but besides that, the National Geographic nature of the first half of this film and the kind of ridiculousness that this movie gets into, it grates on me at times. And for that, I am going to give Rambo 3 a 5 out of 10. And getting into the video quality here, this was shot on 35mm like the rest of the Rambo films, and the overall presentation still remains here because it is solid. The clarity that was in those first two Rambo films was excellent, and the detail as well. And you see every bead of sweat on Rambo's face here. And trust me, there is a lot of beads of sweat because it is hot where Rambo is now. And you get it here. And a lot of just the pores on faces. Look, this movie came out quite a while ago, and still, the detail and the clarity is so stepped up here. It is phenomenal. And when you get into the overall just dimensionality to this, the separation from the foreground to the background, it is incredible. And I just feel like they have done one hell of a job on all three of these Rambo films in 4K. And getting into the HDR here, the HDR is something that I feel like is a sticking point for this particular release. And I'll get into that shortly. But talk about the good here, I will say that colors just pop off of the screen. And that is saying something for a film that is largely in Afghanistan. You don't have the green trees here. And I feel like that was a large benefit of the first two films. But still here, there is a lot of lush and rich colors to this color palette that just pops off of the screen. Now, skin tones do get hot from time to time. And because of the Afghanistan setting, and the skyline. I feel like this particular film can get blown out from time to time more than First Blood and Rambo First Blood 2. And that is just two little points with the HDR that could have been better. But besides that, this is one hell of a good video transfer. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This is still, like, really solid stuff. Now, what isn't that solid is the fact that with the audio quality, we don't get Dolby Atmos mix on any of these Rambo films. Why should this be any different? And we are given a DTS HD 5.1 mix. It is fine. It's serviceable, but it's just that. And that is my biggest gripe with it. And you definitely hear the age of this film in all of these audio tracks that are on all of these Rambo films. And here is no exception. You know, you have very limited speaker separation with quiet and subtle surrounds at times. Front speakers are used pretty heavily, and this is a pretty front-heavy mix, but bass response here is still pretty good. But because of the fact that, even the score doesn't come through really clearly in the surrounds at times, I just felt like this was a small-scale audio mix. And for that, I am going to give this a 7 out of 10. This is no better and no worse than the audio mixes that were on the other Rambo films. And getting into the digital copy here, this is a Movies Redeemed digital copy, which means that you can't download the 4K version, but you can download the 1080p version on Vudu and iTunes. And getting into the special features here, there is a whole lot here, including an audio commentary track that is on the 4K disc with Peter McDonald, who is the director here. And he basically talks about coming into this film at the last minute and all of the problems that really came into play because of the fact that he was so late into this production. And that is true because the original director was fired here. And still, he came in with a vision, I feel like. I don't have a problem with his directing as part of this movie. I feel like it's actually directed better than the second film. And I feel like this is a very candid audio commentary track that really goes into the struggles of filmmaking sometimes and a lot of the problems that come into play. And I did genuinely enjoy it. And as for the featurettes here, you get a decent amount of them. Most of them are in standard definition just because they are older, but they are all on the 4K disc. And you go into a lot about the Afghan War for people that didn't know and couldn't really get it from the movie. And then, because that lasts about half an hour long, along with that, you get a doctor talking about what Stallone went through and getting into shape for this film. That featurette was on the first film and on the second film's special features, and this is the part 3 of that. And then you get another featurette that goes into Troutman and Rambo's relationship with each other and what that means for this film. You get a very cool, if not understated, 2 minutes of comparisons between the original video quality of the Rambo on Blu-ray and the video quality of this 4K presentation. I feel like that is really cool. And there are actually more. You know, you get deleted scenes and a couple of other featurettes too. You get a whole lot here that lasts well over an hour and a half. And I will say that this is getting an 8 out of 10. This is something that they have really done an excellent job on. And getting into my last looks at Rambo 3, look, this is the weak link in the franchise. It's a movie that feels like National Geographic for the first half of it and ridiculous action film for the second half of it. And some of the action works, some of it is ridiculous, and I just really fall in between on this film. I feel like Stallone still works here. I just... yeah, this one I really have a hard time coming back to. And when you add up all my scores for Rambo 3 in 4K Ultra HD, that comes out to a 28 out of 40. That score is largely because of the actual quality of this movie, though. Because the actual video quality is excellent. The audio quality is so-so, but you definitely get a whole lot of special features here if you like this movie. Hey, you don't have to agree with me, but if you like it, you are going to get the 4K presentation that you want here. So pick it up if you like it, people. And next, I haven't gotten the disc in the mail yet, but I will be reviewing Evil Dead 2, and that is coming out next week, along with The Equalizer 2. I'm going to be going into sequel territory next week, but 2 sequels that I am looking forward to. So if you are to subscribe so you know when those videos come out, I'm going to be getting them to you real quick as soon as they come in. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome. I don't even need to say it. You know it, and I will see all of you next time.